the story of a Japanese maniac, shadow of the Gion neighborhood. Gion is a Kyoto neighborhood that tourists call the heart of Japanese tradition. Narrow streets with wooden houses, the light of lanterns reflected in the puddles after rain, geisha rapidly disappearing around the corner. All this mesmerized and attracted. But in recent years, the neighborhood had become notorious for disappearing without leaving a trace. Only dainty teacups with a reddish liquid were found at the sites of the disappearances. Behind this was a figure who would later be called the Shadow Master. His story begins much earlier than the first crimes, and much deeper than anyone could have imagined. The birth of a monster. Keitaro Ichigawa was born in 1980 in Kyoto to a family of hereditary tea ceremony masters. His mother, Reiko Ichigawa, was a well-known master in the city, but her benevolent smile hid her despotism. She believed that true art required sacrifice, and this philosophy was reflected in her upbringing of her son. From an early age, Keitaro was subjected to strict discipline. If he made a mistake, even the slightest, holding the bowl at the wrong angle, his mother would punish him by having him kneel for hours, repeating the movements to perfection. At the age of 12, Keitaro witnessed a mysterious scene. His mother, in a rage over a failed performance, broke one of the antique tea bowls. Instead of throwing it away, however, she collected the shards and restored the bowl using the technique of kintsugi, the Japanese art of restoring broken pottery with gold. "Every perfection is born through destruction," she said then. These words seared into the boy's mind, becoming the basis of his dark philosophy. The first signs of darkness. When Keitaro turned 20, he inherited his mother's tea house. His ceremonies attracted not only locals but also tourists. However, those who visited him noticed that there was a dark obsession in his approach to the tea ceremony. He demanded absolute precision, and any deviation caused him to fly into an uncontrollable rage. Some students left classes saying that Keitaro seemed to lose himself when he noticed mistakes. In 2006, his first major incident occurred with one of his students, Yumiko Hasegawa. The girl made a mistake in the sequence of a ritual, and Keitaro threw a bowl in her face. She left with serious cuts, but did not report it to the police for fear that no one would believe her story. This incident was a turning point. Keitaro realized he couldn't tolerate imperfection. His irritation began to grow into an obsession that people who are incapable of harmony need to be fixed. The idea that people who are incapable of harmony need to be corrected. The first disappearances. In 2018, when people started going missing in Gion, the neighborhood was already used to random disappearances of tourists. However, the police soon noticed a strange pattern. All the missing people were related to traditional arts. The first victim was a young art student, Hana Tanaka, who was looking for inspiration for her thesis on Kyoto culture. Her last post on social media was that she was going to attend a secret tea ceremony. After that, she went missing. At the site of her disappearance, the first bowl of red tea was found. Analysis of the liquid showed that it was a mixture of high-quality Japanese tea with the addition of tsikuta, a poison that was used for ritual suicides in ancient times. Death rituals. Keitaro used the tea ceremony as a tool of control. His victims were invited to his abandoned tea house, which he turned into a ritual space. The dark walls, the smell of old wood, the dim candlelight. Everything was designed to induce both awe and fear in his victims. During the ceremony, he made them undergo elaborate tests. For example, one of the victims, police later found, had to perfectly perform the ritual of chazen, making tea. If they got it wrong, he would give them a chance to purify themselves with the last bowl. The victims, blinded by the atmosphere of the ritual, didn't even realize they were drinking poison. A trap for a maniac. It took the police a long time to find a connection between the victims. However, Detective Satoshi Yamada, who grew up in Kyoto and knew the intricacies of Gion culture, began to notice strange coincidences. At all of the disappearance sites were tea bowls created in the kintsugi style. Satoshi remembered that such bowls were produced by the Ichigawa family. He decided to lure the maniac into a trap by sending out a fake invitation to a private ceremony through the same platforms Keitaro had used. The invitation was responded to by the master himself. The detective, pretending to be a participant, found himself in an old tea house. The atmosphere inside was eerily beautiful. Everything was perfect, from the arranged cups to the smell of freshly brewed tea. Keitaro, noticing that Satoshi had made a slight error in his bow, had a drastic change in his face. He began to slowly approach, reciting the traditional lines about harmony and destruction. But just as he was about to offer the detective the last cup, the police rushed in. A finale or a new chapter? The tea house turned out to be a real museum of death. Under the floor, they found the remains of the victims, notes with their names, and even a video where Keitaro recorded his lectures on perfection. However, the maniac himself could not be apprehended. During the chaos, he escaped through a secret passage in the floor. Now there are rumors in Gion that Keitaro still lives among the tourists. Hiding under the guise of an ordinary tea ceremony master. His disappearance has left behind fear and many questions. Was he a man, a monster, or perhaps something more? The embodiment of a shadow that cannot be caught?